Authorised Professional Operator Assessment, Module 4, Regulated Non-Quarantine and Protected Zone Pests. Regulated Non-Quarantine Pests, or NQPs. What is a regulated non-quarantine pest defined as? An RNQP is a non-quarantine pest whose presence in plants for planting affects the intended use of those plants with an economically unacceptable impact and which is therefore regulated within the EU territory. This means that certain plants for planting may have a level of pest infestation by an RNQP which will be tolerated. This is known as a threshold limit. Specific pests present in the EU and transmitted through specific plants for planting have threshold limits laid out in the regulations associated with regulated non-quarantine pests. Feasible and effective measures are available to prevent the presence of regulated non-quarantine pests. Regulated non-quarantine pests and their threshold limits. The Plant Health Regulation clearly lays out the regulated non-quarantine pests associated with the different species and types of plants for planting. An example given here lays out the pests, the regulated non-quarantine pests, and their threshold limits associated with Solanum tuberosum, or potatoes. The different pests are listed on the left-hand side, including Thaumetopoea cucumbers and Spongospora subterranea. The three columns indicate the threshold limits for the direct progeny of pre-basic seed potatoes, the direct progeny of basic seed potatoes, and the direct progeny of certified seed potatoes. The Plant Health Regulation also continues to lay out the additional RNQPs associated with Solanum tuberosum and indeed other vegetable materials. Some of these include, for example, leaf roll virus, leek yellow stripe virus, onion yellow dwarf virus associated with Allium cepa and Allium sativum. It also lays out other propagating material, other seed, fruit plants and plant material. Aculops fuchsiae Keifer. Aculops fuchsiae is more commonly known as the fuchsia gall mite. The fuchsia gall mite is a union regulated non-quarantine pest specifically regulated on fuchsia plants for planting. Fuchsia gall mite is a major pest of 7 species of the Onograceae family. These include Fuchsia arborescens, Fuchsia denticulata, Fuchsia gerigeri, Fuchsia macrophylla, Fuchsia magellanica, Fuchsia procumbens, and Fuchsia triphylla. Aculops fuchsiae has a worm-like body about 1/4 millimeter in length, and the gall mites are yellowish white in colour. Symptoms of infestation of Aculops fuchsiae include rusting and deformation of the leaves, growths or galls becoming swollen, blistered and reddened, leaf galls resemble leaf curl, deformed flowers, all new growth on the plant ceases, and further examination with the hand lens will reveal the yellowish fusiform mites. Pathways and dispersal of Aculops fuchsiae include the wind, birds and pollinating insects, movement of infested plants, and propagation of infested plants and plant material. Thus far, official control measures have only shown to slow the spread of this pest, as eradication is impossible. Therefore, the best practice is to practice good sanitation, use highly resistant fuchsia species or cultivars, and use reputable suppliers. Verticillium dahliae Kleb. Verticillium dahliae Kleb, or more commonly known as Verticillium wilt, is a fungal pathogen, white and fuzzy in appearance, eventually turning black. The fungus can survive in the soil for 14 years as microsclerotia, either free or in plant debris. Verticillium wilt has a wide host range amongst economically important crops, including ornamental plants, native species, weeds, and woody or herbaceous plants. Verticillium dahliae affects 14 different plant families and more than 200 hosts. Primary hosts of this pathogen include aubergines, bell peppers, lettuce, oilseed rape, potato, strawberry, and tomato. Symptoms of Verticillium dahliae include irreversible wilting, total defoliation, sectorial chlorosis and necrosis of the leaf tissue. In tomato and aubergine plants, tan discoloration of vascular tissue. In herbaceous plants, wilting often develops when fruit and tuber production begins, and in woody plants, poor growth and early leaf senescence. This pathogen is primarily transmitted through infected seed or plant stock of vegetative propagated crops. Therefore, best practice to prevent the introduction and spread of Verticillium dahliae is to use resistant or tolerant cultivars, utilize crop rotation, use pathogen-free planting material, and employ good fertility and irrigation management. Ditylenchus dipsaci. Ditylenchus dipsaci is a migratory endoparasite, more commonly known as the stem and bulb nematode. Infestation of Ditylenchus dipsaci causes swellings and distortions of aerial plant parts or rotting of the stem base, bulbs, tubers, and rhizomes. In clay soils, this pest may persist for many years, including surviving without a host plant. Ditylenchus dipsaci is known to attack more than 450 different plant species. Primary hosts of this pest include allium, Fragaria ananassa, flower bulbs such as narcissus, tulipa, and begonia, Fabaceae, Solanum tuberosum, Zea mays, and Vicia faba. Symptoms of Ditylenchus dipsaci include leaf deformations and leaf swellings with blister-like areas, wilted appearance of leaves, and leaves can become chlorotic. Bulbs soften and when cut, openly display browning of the scales. Crop declines in patches in the field. Swelling and deformation of the stem tissue. Lesions which turn reddish brown, then black. Leaf and petiole necrosis. Infected seeds are darker, distorted, and small in size, with possible speckled spots on the surface. The movement and dispersal of Ditylenchus dipsaci can occur through several methods. The use of infected seeds and plant material of host plants, the movement of soil, the use of compromised irrigation water, contaminated footwear and clothing, and contaminated farm tools and machinery. Best practice to prevent the introduction and spread of Ditylenchus dipsaci includes the utilisation of crop rotation, the use of material which is free from the pest, including certified seeds and pathogen-free plants. Source your plants from reputable suppliers. Seek guarantees from your supplier on the health status of the plants. Know where the plants have been sourced and where they have been grown. Sanitize all farm machinery, tools and footwear. Minimise any soil movement and ensure that commercial vehicles are free from soil. Protected Zone Quarantine Pests. What is a protected zone, PZ? A protected zone is an officially defined geographical area in the EU for a specified regulated non-quarantine pest for which that pest is neither endemic nor established. A protected zone quarantine pest is known not to be present in a protected zone, although is present in other parts of the EU. Ireland has protected zone status for 22 of the 31 protected zone pests recognised in the EU plant health regulations. Protected zone quarantine pests. National plant protection organisations of EU member states are required to impose additional restrictions to prevent protected zone pests becoming established in their areas. These additional measures include specific annual surveys, annual reporting, commission audits, the listing of the protected zone and the EPO code of a specific pest on all plant passports, and host plants of a protected zone quarantine pest can only be sourced from other protected zone countries or pest-free areas within those countries, as stated in the relevant European legislation, including Council Directive 2017-1279 and 2019-523. Bemisia tabaci. Bemisia tabaci is more commonly known as the tobacco whitefly. Bemisia tabaci is one of the pests of which Ireland has protected zone status for. Tobacco whitefly is a small plant sap-sucking insect found in most parts of the world and is a vector for numerous harmful viruses. Adults of tobacco whitefly are approximately 1 mm long with powdery white wings and white yellowish bodies. Bemisia tabaci is a major pest of glasshouse salad crops such as tomatoes and cucumbers. An infestation of Bemisia tabaci can be indicated in several ways. These include chlorotic spotting of the leaves, yellowing of the leaf vein and the leaf itself. A mosaic pattern develops on leaves together with leaf curling. A decrease in plant vigour and height in instances of heavy infestations. Yellow, white larval scales present on the underside of leaves, and sooty mould present on the leaves. Bemisia tabaci. How does the pest spread? Bemisia tabaci usually spreads on traded plants, which makes it necessary that imported plants into Ireland have the protected zone status present on the plant passport. Best practice to prevent the introduction and spread of Bemisia tabaci includes the inspection of all new plant material. Monitor the underside of leaves and use yellow sticky traps. Isolate newly arrived plants in a separate part of your glasshouse. Do not mix ornamental and vegetable crops in the same area. At the end of the growing season, dispose of the plants and sterilise the glasshouse or polytunnel areas. Thaumetopoea processionea. Thaumetopoea processionea is more commonly known as the oak processionary moth, or OPM. OPM is a native pest of Central and Southern Europe. OPM is a major pest of oak trees in Europe, with the larvae or caterpillars often causing severe defoliation of infested trees. OPM poses a risk to human and animal health, as the caterpillar hairs can cause irritation to skin and may cause respiratory problems. Recognizing oak processionary moth. The caterpillars are at their most distinctive and easiest to recognize from April to June. The caterpillars have black heads and bodies with long white hairs. As they mature, a single dark stripe develops on the middle of the back. The caterpillars are unique as they follow one another head to tail in long processions to and from the nest or feeding position. As previously said, oak processionary moth poses a health risk to both animals and humans. The caterpillar hairs contain an urticating defensive toxin, Thaumetopoea, a chemical potentially harmful to humans. Contact can provoke allergic reactions, which manifest as skin rashes, conjunctivitis, and respiratory problems. If you find oak processionary moth, do not touch or approach the caterpillars or the nests. Call in a pest control expert to remove infestations in your own trees. Report sightings and findings to the Department of Agriculture, Food and the Marine. Best practice to prevent the introduction and spread of Thaumetopoea processionea includes the use of reputable suppliers to source your trees. Seek guarantees from these suppliers in relation to the health status of the plants. Ensure you know where the plants have been sourced and have been grown throughout their life. Make sure that the plant material has valid plant passports. Erwinia amylovora, fire blight. Fire blight is another disease which Ireland has protected zone status for. Fire blight is a contagious disease that can cause considerable economic damage and loss in apple orchards. The disease is caused by a bacterium, Erwinia amylovora, that infects members of the Rosaceae family. Fire blight host plants include Sorbus acuparia, Sorbus aurea, Cotoneaster, Pyracantha, Crataegus, Chenomeles and Photinia. Symptoms of Erwinia amylovora or fire blight include blossom blight. Infected blooms appear water soaked, later beginning to wilt, shrivel and turn black or brown. Shoot blight. Shoot stems become discoloured and shrivelled, with tips forming an inverted J or shepherd's crook. The main branch or trunk develops darkened cankers or lesions which eventually crack and ooze. And fruit blight, where the fruits begin to shrivel, brown and mummify. Fire blight is established in most of Europe and the Mediterranean Sea area. Fire blight can be carried to blossoms by wind, rain and insects. The transport of latently infected plants or plant material can introduce Erwinia amylovora into unaffected areas. Best practice to prevent the introduction and spread of Erwinia amylovora includes ensuring that all plants or plant material which are host plants of fire blight have protected zone information on the relevant plant passports, and that those plants or plant materials originate from fire blight free zones such as Ireland. The use of tolerant or resistant varieties if available, and train staff to recognise plant diseases and the symptoms of fire blight. Leptinotarsa decemlineata. Leptinotarsa decemlineata is more commonly known as the Colorado beetle. Colorado beetle is a serious pest of potatoes as well as other cultivated crops including tomatoes and aubergines. Adults feed on the tubers, leaf stems and growing points of host plants, while larvae feed on the soft or leaf edges. Adults emerge in spring or early summer, dispersing to suitable host plants through flight or walking. Introduction of Colorado beetle generally happens through windborne migration, or more commonly by being transported on potato plants, potato tubers, or hitchhiking on non-host crops and packaging. Measures for the control of Colorado beetle are minimal, but do include some cultural and sanitary measures. Best practice to prevent the introduction and spread of Leptinotarsa decemlineata include the utilisation of crop rotation or the manipulation of planting dates. The establishment of plastic-lined trenches and the use of trap crops will prevent the spread of Colorado beetle. Sourcing your plants from reputable suppliers and ensuring that you know where the plants or planting material has been sourced and grown is crucial to prevent the introduction of Colorado beetle. You should also make sure that the plants or plant material is accompanied by a valid plant passport. There are new rules in place for plant health in the EU. Plant passports will be issued using a common format for all consignments of plants traded between professionals within the EU. For further information in relation to this presentation, please contact the Horticultural and Plant Health Division of the Department of Agriculture, Food and the Marine. The address is Backweston Administration Building, Backweston Campus, Selbridge, County Kildare, W23X3PH. Telephone 01 505 8885 or email plantandpests@agriculture.gov.ie.